Hello, everyone, and welcome to Anatomy of an Adaptation podcast. This is a podcast that aims to compare and contrast classic novels with their cinematic adaptations. I'm your host, Nicolo Grasso, and I'm joined today for the last episode of 2025 by the good Rafael Félix. At this point, I want to say the most recurring guest this year on the podcast. How are you doing, Rafael? Thank you for being here at the end of the road, you could say.
That's right. Very honored to being able to actually just come here quite a bit. We've talked about like maybe four or five books along the year,
And
which
two
was
video
very
games.
yes, and the video
Yep.
games. And it made me very happy. It made me look at the way I read and the way I compare it to films in a different way. So it's been a very beautiful journey this year.
I'm glad. I'm glad. It's been good to have this podcast again. At this point, I want to say when this episode comes out, it's almost exactly a year from the revival episode that I did with Carson Timar of Clappercast, talking about Queer by Luca Guadagnino and William S. Burroughs, which was very good conversation. I would recommend people listen to that if they haven't already. And so, the year is coming to an end. There are plans for 2026. We can briefly talk about them at the end of the episode, but of course, 2025 has not been the best year, we could say, for people, for the world. So it seemed fitting to end with something a bit more pessimistic than usual. Not for the types of conversations the two of us usually have on this podcast.
It's always
It's like,
misery when I come in.
yeah, it's like, hey, for some people we'll do like Casino Royale. We're talking about some comedies, and when you're here, we're talking about depression, suicide, and today we're just talking about the end of the world. So could be
This
worse
is
though.
appropriate for 2025, I guess.
Appropriate for 2025 because of course today we're talking about Cormac McCarthy's The Road and the 2009 adaptation.
I don't even know why I ask you. I should just go ahead and empty every goddamn bullet into my brain and leave you with nothing. That's what I should do.
Shh. Just don't talk like that.
You're right. There's nothing left to talk about. My heart was ripped out of me the night he was born.
We have to. We will survive this. We are not gonna quit. We're not gonna quit.
I don't want to just survive. Why'd you get it? I don't want to. Why won't you let me take him with me?
We have already talked about Cormac McCarthy on this podcast. You weren't present there, Raphael, but we did an episode with Jakob Flash and Johan Gledo a couple of years ago talking about No Country for Old Men. I would be interested in knowing your feelings on McCarthy as a writer, or even on No Country. Actually, I believe you have read that one as well. Personally, it has become one of my favorite writers. There's just something about his prose that I find particularly compelling, especially as he grew older. He started being more direct, generally speaking. There's almost a screenplay structure to his writing that I appreciate. And then suddenly he just injects beauty, poetry, and just romance in the classical sense of what romanticism can be. So I'm curious, what's your experience with McCarthy? How do you feel about his work before actually talking about The Road?
It's very limited. I've only read The Road, which I've read two times. This one for the podcast, and I've read it a couple of years ago, the first time. And I've read No Country for Old Men. I understand what you say about his prose because it's very particular. He has like that cadency to the words that he uses. It's always the and. There's
Mm-hmm.
long phrases which gives it some continuity to it, and it gives it always a sense of journey of continuity, which makes it a very easy books to read, even though they're very deep, personal, poetic, as you said. You do feel like you cannot stop reading them, because the sense of continuity of it, it's very interesting to me. It's a very engaging way to write. And I completely understand what you say about how poetic it can be, because especially on the road, which has a different structure than No Country for Old Men. It's like small paragraphs, sparse moments here and there. It goes from very being very descriptive and sometimes a lot of sameness in it, which is what he wants to do here. But it there's just some lines in there peppered around that you just get you out of left field, and leave you like standing in on looking at the book and trying to understand. Actually, when these moments come, sometimes I really need to read the paragraph again, because
Mm-hmm.
you kind of get lost in the script when he's describing everything that is around them, the gray, the ashes, the destruction, the hunger, and all that. But even those descriptions sometimes are very logistical, like what they need, what they want to get, and all that. Sometimes there's just some lines about humanity, about God, about faith, about what it means to keep fighting. There's a lot in it. There's just peppered around, and you're just not expecting it. So it just keeps you focused on it. It keeps you engaged with the book. I think, even though we'll be talking about my opinion on this book, I think his way of writing is insanely engaging.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Especially, I've at this point I've read, I want to say, five of his books: Child of God, Blood Meridian, No Country, The Road, and All the Pretty Horses. So I think,
Which
yeah,
is the last
five.
one, isn't it?
No, actually, I want to say it's from the early 90s, part of a
Oh,
Frontier
really?
trilogy, together with like Cities of the Plain and The Crossing, which I'm yet to read. I want to read
Okay.
those continuations. But it's especially from No Country, like No Country and The Road are way more direct. If you read Blood Meridian especially, it's very dense.
Mm-hmm.
I've read it once. I want to read it again because it's. I wouldn't say it's an easy read in any sense. As you can imagine, it's dark. It's very dark. He loves looking at the darkest parts of humanity, human consciousness. Like Child of God is basically about a serial killer necrophiliac. So he's always been prone to grim storytelling. Um, but he has, I don't know, there's almost this craving for finding simpler ways of telling those stories that have a stronger impact than if he added all those flourishes in the world
Yeah.
in the writing. Which brings us to The Road, released in 2006, a Pulitzer-winning book. People loved it. It was seen as a crowning achievement in his bibliography. I would probably say, honestly, for good reason. This was not my first time as well reading The Road. Actually, funny story. Um, Growing up, I loved Lord of the Rings. Therefore, I really loved Viggo Mortensen. I wanted to see everything he was in.
As one would.
And I remember, as one would, I remember like going to the video store and being like, "Hey, new Viggo Mortensen film." It was a history of violence. My parents were like, "Nope, we're not watching this at 8 years old." And the same thing happened with The Road, which came out in 2009. The film. I was too young to watch it. They prohibited it. I was 12, fair enough. But one thing I could do was read the book. So I just went to the local library in 2010, 2011, and I got The Road. And it had a lasting impact, such a strong lasting impact that I actually did not want to watch the movie for years and years. And reading the book for the first time now, over a decade since my first time, for the first time in English, I remember why I loved it growing up. I remember why it impacted me. I still remember some passages. There are certain sequences here. Of course, the story of a father and son in this post apocalyptic world. The world is dying, almost dead, basically. People are essentially homeless, walking around with shopping carts, rags, barely with enough food to survive and water to drink. And there's some passages, especially when they find themselves in the house with the cannibal house.
Yes.
That was something that really disturbed me when I was younger. Um, but even some moments of beauty and of hope. I remembered the whole sequence when they find the shelter in the underground
Yeah.
bunker. I remembered the arrow towards the end. I remember the man who steals their clothes and just starts running away, and they find him and track him down and make him strip. Like those passages were still so vivid in my mind, purely from the book, in no way from the movie. And experiencing them again, I actually ended up taking so many photos of the book, of like just like snippets
Yeah.
of quotes, because it's so touching. How was it for you reading the book the first time, and how was it re-experiencing it now after a few years, right,
Yep.
of distance?
Not that many years. I've read the book. I don't know, about 4 or 5 years ago. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So it was not that long ago that I watched the film a couple of years ago as well. I think I've watched the film after I read the book the first time, and now I did the exact same. My experience with the road is a little bit different from yours.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't particularly enjoy the first time I've read it. I found it quite repetitive, and it felt like it was. It's not the fact that it isn't going anywhere. It's just you kind of need to take it for the moment. It's not. I don't think it's a book about the journey itself. It's about those every single paragraph that he has there. It's
Mm-hmm.
just telling a particular moment in those, and you need to capture those moments more than the actual, I think, journey of it. And I think that sometimes just um, says something about the whole book and the journey and the actual road that we'll be probably talking about, what it means and all that. So I think you need to take it a little bit as it is. Um, but even though I was always fascinated about the writing of it, about the prose, about what they were doing, it always felt like I was reading the same things over and over and over. And it even though it is a short book, it's around 180 pages or something like that, something very short. I felt very
Yeah.
tired reading it. I think when it works, when the moments are there, and even those exact moments that you're talking about, those moments of tension when they get to the bunker, when they found the I find that whole sequence very harrowing when they're following a family to a forest, and then when they
Mm.
get to the campfire, they flee, and then they found out there's a baby being cooked. Um, I mean, those moments are very tough, very hard. There's some moments of particular beauty that we've been talking about because we were reading the book pretty much at the same time.
Mm. Yeah.
So we were sharing some quotes here and there, and you, I think I got to that quote in particular first that really, really stuck to me that we'll be talking about in the end of the show. But there's some really moments of beauty and prose and sadness and what it means to be alive. Those moments are beautiful, but the in betweens of it, I thought it was kind of hard to read and to get through, and it became a little bit tiring for me reading it.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's a hard book to recommend, honestly. I was thinking about it while reading it. I thought there's multiple people that I know who'd probably like this book. I don't know if I could recommend it though.
Yeah,
Especially considering like we joked about it, but to be fair, we're not going through the best times right now in the world. We're recording this mid December. It's coming out around that time. Um, I I I don't think things will get particularly better going into the new year. So I understand the need for escapism that actually helps you not think about the worst things happening in the world. Um, so hey, why don't you read The Road by Cormac McCarthy? For so much of the visuals will remind you of things that are happening in this world. People stranded, people abandoned, losing hope, losing faith in God and in humanity. Honestly, there is a surprising amount of spiritualism
yes,
in here. I'd forgotten about that. Um, in a way that's not necessarily Christian per se. It's not Christian, like coded in
No,
Christian
it's
symbolism.
spiritual more than religious.
Exactly. Which I found quite moving as well. I mean, it's something that you mentioned. We can talk about what the road even is.
Yeah.
Um, to put it bluntly, the main way that I see it is just life in a way that's aimless. Um, the biggest question of this book, if we were to condense the entire book into one question, is just: is it worth
Is
continuing
it worth?
living?
Yeah, exactly that.
You're seeing a father and child who are starving in a world that has very few resources left. There's no more water in rivers, basically. There's immense cold. Trees are falling down everywhere. Cities are burned to the ground and are crumbling. People have resorted to the absolute worst conditions to survive, with extreme violence and horrific acts. Why should you keep going on? Very bluntly, why? What can you do? What's the hope? And they are going south, this duo. They're going south because south is warmer. South should be better. But what south? What's the south? Like south of Mexico, going in southern. We don't really know what's going on in this world. We never have an idea of even what really happened as this world started to just burn. There is that environmental element as well that's just briefly touched upon. And I think that adds to the horrors of it. Of just you're thrown into this world and you just have to deal with it. That's the way that I saw it, and I think for a book that is this dark, it never feels miserable, which is so hard to achieve. I think, and I don't know if it's because of the way that McCarthy writes, even not just like the actual prose that we talked about, but I loved. You mentioned it. I love the structure in paragraphs. Not only does it make it incredibly easy to just pick up and read, you
Yes.
could be saying like, hey, 5 minutes, I'm going to read like 2-3 pages, and you get mini stories and passages, and that's it. But he breaks down all those interactions and the dialogue as well. Sometimes you get just like 1 or 2 pages of these quick exchanges that the father and son have. Are we the good guys? Yes. Are they the good guys? No. Why are we doing this? Why are we going on? Because we carry the fire. Okay, let's do it. Okay, that's it. Just pam, pam, pam. And it gives, I think ultimately that's how I saw it. It was like, that's the hope. The child is the hope for the future. There is hope for something more to this. That's why we keep on going on, because maybe the future generations, in a more metaphorical sense, the future generations can go on. In a literal sense, maybe there is still good out in the world. And it's the good that you have inside of you, deep down. Even though the rest of the world sucks. I don't know, I'm rambling a little bit.
But I don't think that I can agree with that. With at least with the part that it doesn't never feel miserable. I think it feels miserable from beginning to end. I think it's dour, it's sad, it's
In like a
depressing.
a misery porn, to specify,
It's
of
not
like
misery porn. It's not
like
sadistic.
dwindling in
No,
the
yeah,
terrifying. Yeah.
of course, yeah. It's not sadistic. It's not. It never feels like it's misery porn, as you said, and I don't think that is. But it is very dour. There's very little moments of light, and even when they're there, they're just like some lines. Sometimes they're not even moments; they're just lines.
Hmm.
They're not even complete paragraphs or moments or pieces of the story. Just some inner thought, some line that they say that it's quite beautiful and touching. But I think what you said is very spot on thing. The aimlessness of it, of they don't know where they're going. They're just trying to survive, and the book is repeating itself, but this is not a bad repetition. I know I complained about repetition before, but this is not a bad one. It's like the constant question of, and even the book and the characters themselves, they don't know the answer to this, but why do we keep going? Why
Yep.
is I think in the film this is tackled a little more directly by the old man, but in the book I don't remember it being as direct as it is. But it's something about You can't leave here. You don't want to stop living, so you just don't know what to do with yourself. You can see people killing themselves during like this book, and you know that this thing happened. It's one of the moments that kind of messes our main character up, because we haven't mentioned it yet, but they used to be a family.
Hmm.
They were living together, and the man pleaded with the woman not to commit suicide so they could keep still being together. And what she said is very fair. Why would we want to keep on living like this? There's no reason to be living like this. Besides, like trying to save humanity just by existing. There's a moment where we also talk about that. When would we know that we are the last people on Earth?
Hmm.
And we wouldn't know. We would just keep on existing. And there's some food for thought there as well. Um, but I think the book itself gives us, at least from the way I've read it, it gives its in the structure an answer to this. It's not really about where the road is going or whatever. It's just the fact that you keep on going, and those little moments are there to be. They exist on themselves. They don't need the main picture of it. I think that's why the structure in paragraphs is just beautiful here,
Hmm.
because you just savor every single moment in there, even though these moments are connected to each other in some way. Even logistically they are, but all of them almost live by themselves. And I think the book itself in its structure is saying that more than the road itself is those little moments, those moments where he's looking at the child and it's so beautiful that he wants to cry. It's when he says, if this boy is not the word of God, then God never existed.
Yeah,
These
yeah, yeah,
little
yeah.
moments are so beautiful, and they work almost outside of the book itself, of the main story itself.
Hmm.
So I think you just kind of need to savor it for what it is, more than the main picture. Or it's like it's life itself, isn't it? It's not like what we do along our lives. It's just trying to treasure those little moments, even though they're very bad sometimes, and they're absolutely terrible things happening in this book. Even those need to be understood in a singular way, maybe for us to actually keep on living and surviving and not go mad. We need to savor these moments or suffer with them individually, and try to savor everything out of everything, and not just think about the aimlessness of this road that we're living, because we don't know tomorrow. We don't know. We always make plans for next year, for next 10 years, and we absolutely don't know if we'll be having like clean air next year. So
Clean
just,
water.
yes, just savor the paragraphs, I would say.
Yeah, that's beautifully put. And I think that's also where the repetition does really come into play. Where, and that's what I really liked rereading the book, is that you get so many passages of just scavenging through houses,
Yeah.
finding nothing and struggling, going back, and there's less and less food, and go here, go there, and then they just find some apples. It's like, oh my god, those are edible apples. And they just
Yeah.
have apples for days on end because that's the best they can do. Or they go into a supermarket and they find just like an unopened can of Coke,
Yeah.
and the child is savoring the Coke, probably the first and the last Coke he will ever have, and making that special. I think it can be seen, of course, in that more extreme sense of the end of the world and the environmentalism and how we're destroying the planet, but also, as you mentioned, in the day to day life that we're
Yeah.
going through. Those are the moments that make life worth living. The
Exactly.
little moments of joy and of connection and of satisfaction. The taking a swim near a waterfall. There's also that passage. It's very sweet. Even though
Yes.
it's freezing cold. That's always the thing I think about. It's like it's so cold. But they keep on doing those things, knowing it's not great for their health, but it's great for their souls almost.
I think that's the
Um,
thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And even rereading this book, made me aware, because I was actually thinking about post-apocalyptic media in general, even outside of the realm of books, going into movies and films. And I was thinking, I think this is the ultimate text on end of the world scenarios,
Mm.
or like what happens and how people react. And I think it's become almost a bible
Yep.
to an extent. And I was looking at it, and you get the Walking Dead like a comic book afterwards, which takes definitely some inspirations. We talked about The Last of Us, which unashamedly
It
takes many
is
inspirations.
exactly.
Unashamedly. But even other, like, I'm thinking, for instance, of video games. We both play games. A lot of survival games
Yeah, yeah.
have the repetitive
The
structure
and the
of the
resources,
road.
the exactly that.
The stamina is going down, the food meter is going down. You need to go into that, like, you play DayZ, or you play those Minecrafts, or it's like, go in the house, look for food. No, people have already been there. You see the shadow in the distance, it's another player. Is he gonna try to kill you or not? um I don't know if you have other connections, or some thoughts about this, but I I don't know if we take it for granted almost how much this book has
This
influenced.
influence, yeah, yeah,
It's crazy though, right?
yeah. Especially because we're living in a moment, cinematic. I think that this had a peak a couple of years after The Road, because The Road was published in 2006, I think. And then
Yeah.
we got the Walking Dead and the games. So Last of Us is 2013, I think, something around it.
Yeah.
So you do have those pieces of media that it came after it, and post apocalypse was very trendy at some point in our lives, and we kind of went through those moments of like the late 90s and the disaster movies. It's the
Hmm.
natural things and all that,
It's
and now
grandiose.
yes, it kind of evolved into this, especially the survivalists of it, the zombies of it kind of picked up a lot of this. But I was reminded a lot about a film that I very much love, and I've never had a connection. It's not even the way it's connected structurally or even the characters, but it's the way the world is built. It Comes at Night. The isolation of it is something that happens
Ooh,
that
okay.
you have no clue what is happening outside. It's
Good
an
shout.
unknown threat. Yeah, it's an unknown threat and all that. It pushed me a little bit back to It Comes at Night, and what a brilliant film that was. Maybe I was reminded because I just watched Train Dreams, and I Joel Edgerton was in the back of my
Ah,
mind. So maybe that's it. But yeah, it brought a little bit from It Comes at Night to me. But yeah, I think you said it all. We kind of underestimated the power of and the influence that The Road brought to like the last almost 20 years of media. The post-apocalypse, the zombies, the survivalists, the whole that.
hmm.
Um, all of them take a little bit out of the road, and I think the greatest shot of it is The Last of Us, which
Yes.
is one of the biggest games that we've ever seen, and it's one of the most successful, at least in numbers and all that, and people talking about it, shows of
Yeah.
the last years. So yeah.
Not even just The Last of Us, but even the year before. I want to say it was 2012, or maybe even 2011, honestly. The Walking Dead game, season one, which is also about father figure and surrogate daughter going on a
Yes,
cross country journey, trying to
that
get
is
to
fair.
Jacksonville, and like it's everywhere, wherever you
That is
look.
fair. Yeah.
The road template
Yeah.
is present. Um, I think it's a testament, honestly, to McCarthy's writing, that it still feels novel in a way.
Hmm.
It doesn't feel trite reading it now. There are some of those books that, like, they've been so influential, they've almost lost some of that power. It occasionally happens, but in this case, I think it's still stronger than most
Hmm. I
derivatives
would say that. Yeah.
in a way. Um, even in terms of when it came out, because I was thinking about it, McCarthy doesn't really share much about his creative process, his inspirations, but he was just talking about being in El Paso in 2003 with his child and just picturing the entire world burning, and what would happen if that, like, if he woke up and the world was just burning and he was alone with his child. What would they do? That was kind of the incipient starting
Mhm.
point for him to actually write the book. But I'm thinking also, if he was writing this on and off for 2 years, 2003, 2005 circa, that's the same period where you get the war in Iraq. That's the same period where
Yeah.
you're starting to get the first true problems related to global warming, where it's become inevitable and, harder to deny. Um, and some of the ways that he describes, it was making me think not even of just those types of conflicts, but even beforehand in Bosnia and in the 90s. And you have
Hmm.
the CNN effect where everything
Yes.
is always on the radio and you see images of Sarajevo, war torn Sarajevo. Um, the way that the characters are dressed, the way that they scavenge using shopping carts, a busted shopping cart as well. Like there's all those little details that they put in. Of
Yes.
course, it's not a
Yes.
functioning shopping cart. It's one thing is fucking busted. One of the wheels. Um, it
It's
feels
very
almost
capitalist, isn't it? It feels like
yes,
very post capitalist. It's
yes.
the supermarkets, it's the shopping carts, it's the modernity of it, and the nuclear winter, which is kind of what you get here. Um,
All the brands that are useless at this point. Just
in
like
a way,
reminiscing.
in a way, it's like the world came to the end of the road, and now they're left, and there's no road left. There's just the people wandering around it.
Yeah.
Um, so I think yeah, that's great. It's a reflection of the anxieties that we got from the '90s and the beginning of the Iraq War, the 9/11, the
Mm-hmm.
invasion of Iraq and stuff like that. Especially because McCarthy was very aware of all this. He was always very, at least for what I know of what some things that I've read about him, he was always very aware
Mm-hmm.
of the American lifestyle and how America is perceived.
I mean, I don't know if we could do that. I would love to do an episode on The Counselor. Even though it exists as a screenplay, I don't know, it's the same as reading a book. He would be pushing it. But
Is
there's
this
so
the
much
one
of
that
that.
of Ridley Scott's?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it was McCarthy actually.
It was an original screenplay of McCarthy. It wasn't even a book to
Yeah,
begin with. Even No Country for Old Men started as a screenplay more so than as a novel, and then he just like refined it to be a book. And that's where you can see how the Coen brothers,
that
for
does make
instance,
sense. It
the
does
way
make
it's
sense.
structured, the way it
Yeah,
has just dialogue scene here,
yeah.
a
The
very direct action.
narrator, yeah. Even the structure of No Country for Old Men, where you have like a pre-chapter of the thoughts
Hmm.
of the sheriff, and then you get to the actual story of it. That is actually very interesting. I didn't know about this.
It's I mean, I would love to do an episode on the counselor because I think that goes very deeply, especially in the capitalist mindset of post Bush era. During because I want to say it was during Obama, right? 2014, kind of 2012,
Yeah.
2014. So there's a lot to unpack there. Um, but even to kind of close things off with his novel, The Road, timeless, truly, truly timeless, honestly. Which brings us into the film, a film that they fast tracked into production. Probably because, as you mentioned, the end of the world was on everyone's mind. That's the same year we got classic Roland Emmerich 2012.
Let's go.
It's kind of similar narrative in a way, right? But everyone was thinking about the end of the world. Everyone was starting to become
Yeah.
obsessed again with it. And following the success of No Country for Old Men in 2007, studios really wanted to carry on that success of McCarthy. And so we get, in 2009, directed by John Hillcoat, starring Viggo Mortensen and young Kodi Smit-McPhee,
Yep.
The Road. What's your history with this film? I think we both said we actually both watched it then after reading the book.
Yeah.
Only a few weeks for you, probably a few days for you, many years for me. I actually just looked at my letterbox review. It was December of 2020, so it's been 5 years since I last watched this. Since I
It's one of
first
those
watched
films
this.
that I think I imagined watching it, so it's one of those that it was on
Mm,
TV or something, and I know that I've watched it. Some moments of it. It was also a film that I kind of share the same story with you. So I went to the video store and I always looked at Vigo's face, and it's a very like Vigo poster. Is very big.
mm-hmm.
It's all that. There's a
Dominates.
kid. Yeah, he kind of imposes himself on the poster. So it just you you get your eye to him. But it's one of those that I don't think, at least before I picked up the book the first time, that I actually sat down and watched it from beginning to end. So it was something very similar. It's a film that I think I've seen before, but I've never sat through it. It's one of those. And then I rewatch it now for this. So I've rewatched. S- read the book twice, and I don't know. This film is very weird for me. Even my reaction to it is very weird for me. I don't know if you need to give any more if you want to give any more context about the film before I actually give my opinion on it.
Just go for your opinion. I've
Yeah,
no much not much context to add.
yeah, because it's pretty much the same. You just get a little bit of narration in the beginning of the film. You start the film with the is Charlize Theron. She's very pregnant, I think, already, and you see fires burning outside of the house, and then
Hmm.
you Vigo kind of wakes up near a waterfall with a kid, and you see the ash. Everything is destroyed. Pretty much the way that the film describes the visual look, the way the book describes the visual look of it, the film is completely perfect on that sense. It's
Yep.
gray as it can get. It's as gray as it can get. It's windy, it's ashy. It feels cold. It feels dirty and miserable and sad. So the visual look of it is amazing. However, I was never engaged with the film. Never. And even though it pulled me a tear here and there because I'm easy like that, there is, I think, this is a weird complaint to have about a film, and I don't think it should be such a big thing for to ruin the film for me. But the music of it really took me off. Really took me off because it's very sentimental and overpresent during the whole film, and it completely takes my mind away of the dourness, of the sadness, of the existentialism, the seriousness of it almost, because it almost feels too studio-ish, Hollywood-ish. We need to pump those feelings up for people, and I think the book and the lines in the film, that some of them are very much verbatim, and most of the book is there, minus little small moments here and there, but the music and the way it's put together, I think it takes away the art and depressing and heavy feeling of the book.
uh, Unfortunately, I will have to agree.
Oh, good
Um,
lord, really?
I wish I could be here singing the praises of this movie, because I remember when I first watched it 5 years ago, it had been almost a decade since I read the book.
Yeah.
So just watching it was like, oh, okay, yeah, I remember those parts. Oh yeah, this feels faithful, and like you said, you get swept up in the emotions of it all. It's hard not to shed a tear when you get to the ending, and the
Yes,
father is
exactly that.
dying, and he's saying those beautiful things to the child, and he
Exactly that.
meets Guy Pearce and Molly Parker. Like, it works, it's effective. It feels, having watched it, I want to say 3 days after finishing the book, it feels slavishly connected to the source material, which is
Hmm.
something that I do not feel with No Country for Old Men.
Yes.
In No Country for Old Men, they don't have a soundtrack. In No Country for Old Men, they really embraced the stilted nature of McCarthy's prose,
Yeah.
and the very direct dialogues and the way that people speak and just live in the world. And I actually had that thought during this. I was thinking, wow, this scene would be so much better if there was no music. This scene would feel so much better if it was just slower. You mentioned it as like a positive slash negative of the book. Something you have mixed feelings on is the pacing of it, the repetitiveness of it, which
Yeah.
is, again, as we both said, by design. This film feels like a Cliff Notes version of the book. What
Hmm.
happens in the book? Oh yeah, like, in the book you get the part where They meet the group of people in the road and they kill the one guy. You get the part where the trees are falling. You get, and you're just going through the list, just checking
Yes,
things off. Yep,
exactly
yep,
that.
yep. This is in the book. This is in the book. This is also in the book. You don't get some of the darkest parts because they're a bit too dark for a
The
Dimension
baby.
Films production. The baby, you don't get the baby because that's too much. But everything else is in the book pretty much. But you're watching it in a way that, for instance, like I teared up so many times reading this book, which I
Yeah,
was not expecting.
me too, and I wasn't enjoying it as much as you, and even I was getting swept up on it.
And one of the parts that really got to me, because of course there are dark moments and all of that, but I mentioned it before. There's a moment when they find the bunker. It comes at a part in the book where you've just been following them through multiple houses and a full stretch of road where the kid is asking like, "Are we dying?" No, but we said we're starving. Yes, we're starving, but we're not
We're
dying.
not dying, yeah.
But we are starving, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna pull it through. And he finds the bunker, and he goes inside, and he's just so overjoyed with realizing how much food they can actually eat, and they can warm up water, they can have a proper bath, the kid can use shampoo for the first time in like 6 years or something. It's so moving. And in this film, everything moves so quickly. You don't really feel like they are starving.
And you don't feel like they spend time there as well.
It's not. It's, I want to say it's like 20 pages in the book. They
Yeah.
spend multiple nights. They do this, they do, and everything. Yeah, it's the Cliff Notes version. I'm not usually one to want longer movies. I do like me a long film, a 3-hour epic. I think this film is too short for what it's supposed to be, in a way that would have made it more alienating for the general audience, for sure. They are going for a more mainstream crowd, like, audiences go to the
Yeah.
cinema to be depressed, but it's gonna be fine by the end. And that's where you get the Nick Cave and Warren Ellis soundtrack, which, but in its own, it's a good soundtrack. They are really good composers,
I
really
mean,
good musicians.
it's Nick Cave and Warren Ellis.
It's Nick Cave and Warren Ellis, which is a shame as well, because have you actually seen the director's previous film, The Proposition?
The Proposition. No, the only film I've seen from Hillcoat is this one, and an episode
Okay.
of Black Mirror. Yeah.
Okay. Funnily enough, the first time I saw anything from him was the Red Dead Redemption medium length film. Did you
Oh,
know this
damn.
actually?
No, I don't know about this, and I've played and played this.
I was obsessed with Red Dead Redemption as it was coming out in 2010. I did not have a PS3. I was also too young to play it, so I was just witnessing everything from afar. It took, I think it came out like last year on PC. It took me 14 years to finally play that damn game. But as I was growing up, I remember they released a medium-length film that's essentially all in engine, and John Hillcoat directed it. And it's like the first act of the game, essentially, up until when they free the brothel in the countryside. I don't know if you remember. There's a shootout.
I've played the first one a couple of years ago as well. I
It's
don't
cute.
have that memory of it.
It's cute. It's just like very well put together machinima, essentially, of like half an hour of the actual cinematics in game, shot in interesting ways. So I did like Hillcoat, and I really love, actually. I mean, I've only seen it once, but I remember really loving The Proposition, almost a decade ago at this point, Jesus. Which stars Guy Pearce, music
Yep.
by Nick Cave and Warren Ellis, very good Australian Western. So it is nice to see this collaboration continuing, and it worked really well in that case. There are some beautiful moments of music and drama coming together hand in hand. In here, it becomes borderline melodramatic,
Yeah, exactly that.
and we haven't really mentioned it. You mentioned it before. I haven't talked about it yet. I don't like the scenes with Charlize Theron in this film.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we need them, honestly. I think she could have worked as a cameo, in a way, where maybe you see a little
He's
dream sequence.
dreaming. Yeah, exactly that.
That can work, but like starting with that and the narration, or just like setting up this world. It's like, do we need this really? Talking about, like, I think he mentions even cannibalism in the opening, like people are eating each other. It's like,
Don't need this.
we don't. Just like hard cut to him and the kid, and you get it. You look at this world, you get it. Like there's no one
Yeah.
in sight, there's no cars, there's no nothing, there's no nature, there's no life in this world. So I don't know if it's studio notes, I don't know if it's not trusting the audience, but there's so much of that throughout this film that the best way, honestly, that I could put it is what you said. I was never immersed in this film. Rewatching it now, especially after reading the book, I was always watching this at a distance,
Yeah.
which sucks because
It
it is well
does.
put together.
Yeah, it's not incompetence or
It's not a bad
anything like that.
film. Yeah.
It's not. It just feels very, as I said, studio-ish. Like a studio film that you'd go watch like in September, October, and you would probably not remember it in the next year, which is kind of sad because you have Vigo, which always brings quality to anything he does. He puts
It's really
himself,
good.
he
It's really good
puts
here.
himself in this. Our kid,
Kodi
what is his name?
Smit-McPhee.
Kodi Smit-McPhee. Sorry, um, doesn't give the best child performance that I've seen. Um, that I even felt that the material itself wasn't great because I think even though the lines of the kid in the book kind of work because you're reading them, I think saying them it's a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way the child is written, even the dialogue is very dry. So
It's very
I kind of understand that it doesn't work for an actor, especially a child actor.
Yes, yes, and that's actually a great point because I was thinking about it when we got to the end of the book. You're spending this entire novel witnessing, essentially, you're seeing a child become a man
Hmm.
in the sense of maturing enough to the point where he can hold his own in this world or
Yep.
potentially survive going forward in this world because he's so needy as a child has to be.
He's childish and he behaves like a child.
He behaves like a child, he speaks like a child, but a child who's been brought up in this world.
Yeah.
Um, but he has not lost humanity.
Yep.
Every step of the way is 100% human. And it's so moving, and the way that he feels for people, and he's just crying when he thinks he saw a child, a little child, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, let's save him, let's do something, let's get him, like let's find him. um, and he breaks down, and you see this growth of him over the book where he becomes more headstrong as well with his father. The moment where he's like, no, we're gonna stop here, we're gonna help the man, or we're gonna, like you did not have to strip that other guy naked. And that's horrible, and there's the constant conflict of good and evil inside the father as well is
Yeah.
so powerful and moving. You get to the end of the book where you see the growth, and the moment he becomes an orphan officially, and he meets the new man and the new family to go stay with, you do feel earned, like it feels earned the way he acts and reacts, because the film feels so rushed in comparison. It doesn't really feel like it.
Evolved in any way. Yeah.
Barely, barely. um and they even skimp on some parts of the book, like it goes so quickly, the part where he gets food poisoning, and the father keeps going back to the boat. I found a very
Yeah.
interesting chapter that I forgot about, honestly, because of course it's barely in the film.
Yeah.
Right?
It
It's like there's the boat.
it's so weird because even that part in the boat, it's so easily it's just you can easily look at it almost like in a shot in a horror way
Yes,
because
yes.
it's all when I'm reading that I'm always like thinking what is he gonna find? He's keep going in the boat. It's very weird. It's full of water. It's been scavenged.
Mhm.
People must have died in the sea during this, so it reads like a horror story. So it's so easy to think of that scene cinematically and looking at it and wow, this can be shot in such an interesting way, and they didn't do anything with it. It's so annoying. It's
What
so
you get
easy.
instead is a much longer sequence in the house with the cannibals that's way more exciting and thrilling, which is like, do we need this though?
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things I like about the book is that the father is very no nonsense, and there's the
Yeah.
part where they're like, okay, we're going out of here. and they bolt out of the house, and instead in the film it needs to be a little thriller scene and extended, and they hide upstairs because of course where are we gonna go? Let's go upstairs. Perfect sense. Let's hide upstairs. Why not? And the pointing
And
of
the
the gun, like,
gun, yeah, not exactly that.
which is effective, to be honest. It is. I was reading some reviews. It seems to be one of those films that's particularly beloved by those who have not read the book,
I think that is
which
fair, actually. Yeah.
which makes a lot of sense. Yes, yes. We've done many episodes at this point of the podcast, and I do often wonder, would some movies work better hadn't you read the book? And I think, especially with you, this is like the second time this has really happened for me, which the previous time was with The Hours,
Yeah.
where I thought, oh, I did watch The Hours and I really loved it the first time around. Then I read the book and rewatching the film, it's like, oh shit.
And I felt the same thing, not as much as you though, because I
I was
really
I was
enjoyed the
more
film.
negative. I was
But
more negative. Yeah.
I the film did lose little things with
Mm-hmm.
after I read Michael Cunningham's book.
Yeah, and I'm feeling even more of that here with The Road, especially because at the end of the day, I was thinking, why doesn't it really work, and why does the book work? Because superficially, it's the same story. Entire passages are written
It's
exactly the
verbatim
same,
at some points, yeah, yeah.
and I think it's kind of like in reference to what you mentioned as well with the actual performance of the child, which I do like. Kodi Smit, like, he's not great here. Yeah, you're right. I remember liking him when I was younger. I watched him the first time in the Let the Right One In remake.
Yeah,
Let
I
Me
think
In, I
he's
think it's
a
called.
good actor. I think he outgrew a little bit of it.
I
Just
was
think in
really
this,
positive. We talked about Power of the Dog a few episodes back with
yeah,
Carson and
exactly.
Thomas. Really good in that film, I think. Sorry, I thought you were gonna say something.
No, because I think I really focus on him because I think he gets like the bad deal of the film because you need to sell Viggo Mortensen because it's the
Hmm.
selling point of the film, is the main part of the film, but it's the kid's journey that is interesting because you know from the very beginning that this man will not outlive the book. It's
No.
100% said in like the first 10 pages that he's dying. He's
It's
coughing
like coughing
blood.
blood.
Yes, exactly. It's always a thing. So you kind of shift your attention to the kid because you know it's all about him. When you watch the film, it's very negligent. It's very put on the side because you need to focus on Viggo Mortensen's face. Even though I do love Viggo Mortensen's face, but it's not the journey that this is not his journey. This is the boy's journey, and you
Hmm.
lose that with the film, sadly.
Yeah, and it's something I was reading. I don't remember. I should have written down who said it. But I was reading some reviews of people that I follow, and one person was talking about the differences between the book and the film,
Hmm.
and they rightfully pointed out as a key scene that really works in the book doesn't work as well in the film, even though it's essentially the same scene. It's the one with the old blind man, Eli.
Yes,
It's called,
Robert
played by Robert
Duvall.
Duvall.
Actually, I didn't notice it was him. That
I
makeup is
forgot
amazing.
he was there. I forgot he was gonna
Did
be
you
in the film.
recognize him when you watched the film? I didn't recognize him.
Yeah, I looked at the cast beforehand, so I think it was
Ah,
just like I
okay,
knew
okay,
it was
okay,
coming
okay.
up. But oh, no, just even generally, just again, just to clarify, production design, costumes, makeup, effects are
Yes,
quality, top tier here.
very good.
It's insane. They did such a great job.
He did.
Um, but Robert Duvall, someone was saying like Robert Duvall is too good an actor, and when he's saying those lines, they sound too good. When you're reading the book, there's a way that you can almost picture the old man sounding, which is not like uh,
Articulate?
yes,
That
yes,
is very fair, actually.
yes, because I didn't remember the interaction in the film. So as I was reading the book, that entire sequence feels uneasy, slightly shifty. And instead, when you have Robert Duvall saying those lines, it's almost mournful. There's like this aura. It's not. I don't want to say it's like a regal aura, but there is just something that's a bit more. There's more pathos
Yeah,
to it. There's more energy and everything.
that's
And
not what you want here.
that's not what you want here. The film is almost too stacked.
Yeah.
Of all the actors who do appear in the film, I think the best one, scene stealing, the late Michael Kenneth
Michael K.
Williams.
Williams.
That scene is troubling in the book. It's very, very uncomfortable and disturbing even in the film. I think he sells it completely. And he gives the type of performance you kind of want, of course not one to one, but from someone like the Robert Duvall blind man Eli character. And then it's just very simple, just to maybe start bringing things to a close. I don't know if you have more points you wanted to touch on, but the book is just so beautifully written and there's so many moments of poetry that unless you go into obnoxious narration, which they kind of do here, it's like, let's take some of those passages and make them into narration, you cannot really sell it. It works because of the poetry and those moments of beauty that are found through the repetition, that are found through the length of the book, that are found through the monotony of things, that it really sneaks up on you. And the film feels almost obligated to make it more entertaining and make it more straightforward. So it's like all of the fat from the book, let's just remove it. Just make a highlight reel of all the actual sequences where things happen for 2 hours. And more flashbacks with the wife, which is one of the things I do appreciate about the book, is that there's not much of the woman at all. There's those visions and those memories, a couple of interactions, but it's so brief. It feels like a nightmare or a dream you would have. It's not. Let's stop the movie for a second. We need to have Charlize, Oscar winner, Charlize Theron, to prop up our movie for some reason, to get the girlies in. I don't know. I don't know what the point was. Again, she's also very good.
Yep.
I do like her. I don't think we need those scenes. It's as unnecessary as the music.
Yeah. Just strip it, because it's a stripped down book. Just strip it out. You said that the film needed to be longer. I don't think it does. I think 1 hour and 50 can make it work. I just think they didn't do the right decisions for it. I just think that is. I think there's some things that you don't need. I think there is too much dialogue in it for what it is, because the most of the book is not dialogue, it's descriptions of situations, and the moments of dialogue are very sparse. So strip the dialogue, strip it all. Just, you can even do it shorter if you want. Just strip it down. There's no need for the nonsense of the cinematic flashbacks, the narration, the montages. I think you can leave it, because it's so dour, it's so existential, it's so spiritual, that anything you added in a studio way, so the kind of music, the kind of pace and all that, it just ruins the feel and the moments of the book. I think it really betrays the spirit of the book doing it like this. Once again, I think it's not a bad film in any way. It's very competent. It's made by competent people who know what they're doing. It's just not the right way to adapt this, and I think as a film, it's not engaging enough for me to care.
100%. 100%. I know last year there was a graphic novel adaptation that came out, which I would be interested in reading. I've read multiple McCarthy fans sing its praises, which is good. Drawn by Manu Lassaronette, because of course it's made by a French Belgian maybe writer, but it does look fittingly grimy and gritty, approved by McCarthy before he passed away. So I would be interested in reading that to see if it works. I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if we get a TV miniseries down the line. You know that's
Most
gonna
likely.
happen one day.
You
We're
can
gonna
do
get
it.
like
Yeah, you can milk now The Last of Us film.
after The Last of Us. It's like,
You
hey,
can milk it. Yeah.
let's do a 6-episode miniseries about the road. It's like all the big scenes of the book. It's just like one episode each. Interspersed with
Please.
people walking.
Just please.
You can
don't.
see it, right? You
I can see it working. I can see it. These people nowadays making it work. That's the thing. If this is put in the hands of someone that actually has the patience for it and actually understands the book itself, like the Coens did,
Oh God, yeah.
I don't think the Coens could do the road. I don't think it's their jig. But some people can understand this kind of writing, maybe, but I don't see it.
I would
don't see
love
it,
like
especially
a
not John
slow
Hillcoat.
cinema.
Yeah,
no.
it works. It works with in a slow cinema kind of way.
Love Diaz, The
Let's
Road,
put a Pichat Pong doing this or
a
Lav
Peter
Diaz.
Pong's miniseries. Um, and speaking of John Hillcoat, before we actually bring this to a close, you have not read Blood Meridian yet.
Not yet, but I do want
Um,
it.
I would highly recommend it.
Yeah.
And that's a film that people have been trying to make for a long, long time. Apparently, he managed to get the blessing of McCarthy before he passed away, saying, yes, you can go ahead with your own Blood Meridian. It was announced almost 2 years ago at this point. There has literally been no news since.
Who would be doing it?
John Hillcoat.
Please don't. Please don't.
Yeah, with a screenplay written by Andrew Kevin Walker,
Who is this?
who has written Seven, The Killer, The Game, Sleepy Hollow, just to mention a few. So, and John Logan, who made Gladiator, Skyfall, Alien Covenant,
All of
Last
this is
Samurai.
wrong in every single way. These people made very competent films that I will not be putting down. I love Seven. I love The Killer. This is not that vibe. This is not a
Yes.
thriller. This is just dour, miserable, sad, and depressing. There's no thrills. I mean, there's thrills in it, but this is not a thriller.
Blood Meridian is also. I watched recently the Nouvelle Vague film
Yeah.
by Richard Linklater, and there's a line: "It's not unfilmable; it's just unproducible." You read
I
Blood
love
Meridian,
this.
and you think, no one,
We'll put
unless you
this-
change it heavily, no one will make this book into a film.
But
There's
why,
a
why do
reason
you
why
think
people.
there is? Why do you think there is? Because you've read the book, I'm pretty sure. Haven't you?
Not
Yes.
not only is it very, yes, I have. Not only is it very, it's primarily, like the poetic moments of lyrical beauty and abstractness that McCarthy
Yeah.
has here. That's most of the book, the way it's written. It's very elevated. It's not very literal. It's quite heavy, and it also goes really dark and deep into violence in the West against Native Americans. And there's a lot of child murder. And there's a horrifying image in the book that people who've read the book know exactly what I'm talking about. That's a big spoiler. But there's a horrifying image that cannot be filmed. And it's like one of the most important parts of the book to show how far into hell the characters have gone. You cannot make, no one would make this film. And also, I'm just left wondering, and then we can bring everything to a close, because that's the final question usually of this podcast. I'm just left wondering sometimes, like, do we really need an adaptation? I love talking about them, and there are instances where they can be better and they can improve and they can make some stories more accessible. But sometimes I just think, like, it's fine if you just read Blood Meridian.
You
it's-
can live with that.
You can live with that. It's fine if you just say, you know what, I'm not going to watch The Road. I'll just read The Road, and you're going to have a better experience doing that. I would be hard pressed to find, and I'm so happy I have not found a single person in all the reviews I read saying they prefer the film to the book, which sometimes happens. I've not seen a single person say that. We don't need adaptations of everything, and I think it's fine to leave something like Blood Meridian as a book and people keep experiencing it as such.
Yeah.
On this note, it's a redundant question. But at the end of the day, which version of The Road would you prefer and recommend, Rafael, people experience?
So I would recommend the film because I don't know. I mean, come on.
As an exercise.
It's an exercise of doing these comparisons. Yes, I think this actually is a very interesting exercise because you have like a very good book made into a very mediocre film, and I think this kind of exercise that we're doing here is very interesting in these situations because when the film is very good and the book is very good as well, it just I mean, it's good because it's good. In this, you can pick up where it went wrong. So this is nice. Even though I didn't love The Road as much as you did, I think one of the reasons for that though is I've read it translated. I haven't read Cormac in English, and I think that is a big problem in this. I think I would very much enjoy this much more in English. That's why when I'll read Blood Meridian, I will read it in English. I usually would read it in English, but I actually just have the book in Portuguese. But yeah, I think maybe that's one of the reasons I didn't love the book as much as you did. But I think it has some moments of profound beauty and poetry. I think it's beautifully written. Even though I have some problems with the repetitiveness of it, and how even the pacing of the book is kind of weird. I think structurally it has something to say. In the dialogue, there's a lot of beauty. The moments are very profound. So yeah, the book is definitely much better.
Amen. Amen to that. I second everything you just said. Highly recommend the book. Of course, if people have listened this far, I imagine they have read the book. If you have not and you just watched the film, please go to your library, go to your bookshop. You're definitely going to find a copy of this book, most likely. The new Picador re-release here in Europe as well as an interesting opening introduction to the book, kind of like setting up Cormac McCarthy's writing and his attention to detail, which is very simple. Like the I forget the name of who wrote the introductory paragraph, but they were talking about things like, yeah, he's describing this marching group of soldiers and these marauders going through this wasteland. And one of the details he mentions is they were wearing tennis shoes, and it's like that tells you so much. It tells you everything you need to know about them. Speaking of the book, then let's close things off by talking about our favorite parts. What's your favorite quote, your favorite passage from the book?
Yeah, since this is structured in paragraphs, I will just read a very short paragraph that you probably know because I'll read the actual photo that you sent to me that I asked you to because I wanted to read it in English. So you already know what it is, but it's a passage
Spoiler.
very early in the book. It's like 30 or 40 pages
Mhm.
on the book, and it's really it's one of those that I said it. You're not expecting it. It's very descriptive, and then it just gets you out of left field with just a line there that just kind of sweeps you away. So I will do my best not to, because every time I need to read a quote of the book that I love, I kind of start tearing up and my voice is failing. So I really will try to get through this in a proper way. So this is very early in the book, and it is in those first years, the road were peopled with refugees shrouded up in their clothing, wearing masks and goggles, sitting in their rags by the side of the road like ruined aviators, their barrows heaped with shoddy, towing wagons of carts, their eyes bright in their skulls, creedless as shells of men tottering down the caseways like migrants in a fever land. The frailty of everything revealed at last, old and troubling issues resolved into nothingness and night. The last instance of a thing takes the class with it. Turned out the lights and is gone. Look around you. Ever is a long time, but the boy knew what he knew, that ever is no time at all. I
Amen.
did it. I read it through like a big boy that I am,
Without tearing up.
without tearing up.
Well, let me for a second get to the side of camera. That's a great passage. I took a picture of that as well. Like because I usually read them digitally. This is one of the very few books
Yeah.
I actually bought physically to read. So I was taking pictures. I have 32 pictures of quotes from the road. But there is one passage which I don't know why, but just my mind kept going back to it, and that's been going back to it, and I'll read it right now, which is further in the book. I want to say it's like after the halfway mark, more or less, and it's this part where he's just going through the nothingness of the world they're living in. No list of things to be done. The day providential to itself. The hour. There is no later. This is later. All things of grace and beauty, such that one holds them to one's heart, have a common provenance in pain, their birth in grief and ashes. So, he whispered to the sleeping boy, I have you. And I mean, we're both young. We don't have children. But I think anyone who's a parent, not even
Yeah.
just a father, a parent, could connect to the hopefulness and the beauty of the next generation,
Yes.
of having that at least in this emptiness, in this cold world, when there's no reason to keep going forward. The
That is the
boy
future.
is the reason to go forward. The boy is the future. But I could have picked honestly any other of the 30
Yeah, there's
screenshots.
a lot. There's
There's
a
a
lot of
lot.
it.
The
Yes.
final paragraph as well, I think is great.
It's beautiful. Yes, it's very beautiful.
He knows how to end a book. Gosh darn it, he sure does. What about the film then? Do you have a favorite scene from the film?
Mm,
No, not
n-
really.
that's the thing. There's no. I mean, there is a scene in the film that I very much like, but I'm pretty sure that you will mention that as well. So I was thinking about another one.
Okay.
For because I'm pretty sure that you will talk about the naked man.
Damn it. He knows me
Yes,
too well.
of course you would, because that would be my choice as well.
I can
Um,
find another if you want. You
no,
don't have
no,
to
no,
struggle.
no, no. I still like, even though it's very sentimental with the music and all that, but the ending of it is, I think, it kind of captures what the f- the book did. Just the meeting of those, like, it's the last hope that he gets, and he meets Guy Pearce, in very shoddy teeth, and with a dog, and I love dogs, so it does help. But it's Molly Parker really does, in a very very small moment. Her eyes are so kind to the kid, and the way they embrace him, and you feel like, okay, there's some hope in this. Even the end of the film is very stripped out from what the book is. In the book, he goes back to the dead body. He kind of
Hmm.
take cares of it. There's a different, using a word that you did as well, a different pathos to it. However, I think that the small moment where he meets the other family does work in that particular moment.
Yeah, it's fitting for the film that it is.
Yeah, exactly. It is sentimental. It is melodramatic. It is in the film that it is.
And it works. I think that's very good casting. I think like Guy Pearce has that ambiguity about him
Yeah,
that
he
works when
looks
he's introduced.
weird. You don't
Hmm.
trust him, but you.
But
But
then
it's
when
Guy
you see the
Pearce.
family, and Molly Parker is probably one of the most underrated actresses, honestly.
Yes.
Um, she's very good, very very good. Good pick, good choice, good choice. I was gonna go with the naked man, as you mentioned it, the thief,
Yeah.
Michael Kenneth Williams, but we mentioned him already as well. So I wanted to highlight another scene, another actor, since we're talking about the movie and how good the
Hmm.
actors are.
Ah.
I forgot Garrett Dillahunt was in this,
Yes. Yes.
and that entire sequence in the opening, it's one to one from the book,
Yep.
but he sells it. He sells it. He
He's
has
he's
that.
that guy. He's that
He's
guy.
that
He's made to play that kind of creepy guy.
super creepy, super dirty, uh, very uneasy presence. He's just keeps on pissing as he gets a gun pointed at him. Just keeps going. Um, it's one of the first scenes in the film. It comes early in the book as well, and I think it
Yep.
helps setting up the stakes
Hmm.
of everything. And of course, like, which is very dark to think about, but one of the major stakes of the book is that
He's the
of the story
bullet.
itself. It's the bullet. It's like, oh, we have
Yeah.
two bullets, so worst case scenario, we can just kill each other and that's it. And it's like, oh no, we only have one bullet left. That changes everything. It's a choice now.
Yeah.
It's like, do I want to go on living without the boy, or do I off myself and the boy
It's the
doesn't have a
mist.
future? It's the mist. It's the mist with only two bullets that become one. And I think that sequence is just so well done, and they don't feel the need to make it more sensational than it
Yeah.
is. I don't really like that they make the whole House of Horrors with the cannibalism and everything. They make it a bit more, they extend it. I don't think we
Yep.
need that. I think it works as is in the book. They could have just ran out of the house and that's it. That scene is one to one, works in the book, works really well in the film. Garrett Dillahunt, thumbs up. Good
Yeah,
guy.
but it's it really stuck to me with that scene because it's shot in such a weird way. The way he's killed is so dry because it's a very
Like a
it's
wider
not what you
shot.
yes, it's not what you expect that thing seem to be.
It's not very
It
graphic as well. For some reason, I remembered like a splash of blood, because even in the way it's written in the book,
Yeah,
right? It's like I've been removing brain matter from my child's hair or something along
yeah,
those lines after a
there is
day
that.
of running away, which has got like it's yeah, fucked up. But in the film, it's very just like boop.
It's
Okay.
so wide. It's
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 so,
it's just looks slightly comedic. It,
you wanted like a close up of the head and a
Yeah, you
splatter of red.
just shoot it in a regular way. It's such a regular film. Just The one time you needed to do exactly what you're supposed to do, you don't do it.
Amazing, amazing. Oh boy, what a film, what a film, what an experience. But unfortunately, this is the end of our road, but only for now, only for 2025. Because, of course, Anatomy of an Adaptation will continue, it will have a future. But before we talk about that, Raphael, where can our listeners find you and your writing online?
My not my writing, because you can follow what I watch, because I just completely gave up on writing anything on Letterboxd.
You're
You can
busy, you're busy.
Yes, I'm a busy boy. I'll be an RJR Felix on Letterboxd, on Instagram as well. And me and my very good friends have a website called fiocondutor.com.pt, where we write in Portuguese, but you can always do like my good friend Nico and use the Google Translate to find our beautiful reviews of new films and old films, everything good about cinema today and before.
Indeed. It reads like Cormac McCarthy when it's translated in
Yeah,
English.
it's very depressing.
It's very in that way. Of course, you will find links to both of those pages in the show notes below. You can follow me on Instagram and everywhere at NikiGrind97. You can follow my short films on YouTube and Vimeo, at Enjoy the Movies. And of course, you can follow this podcast on Instagram at Anatomy of Adaptation Pod. Because stay tuned, in 2026, not only are we going to have more episodes, but I'm going to start doing something a little bit different, because I've been reading a lot on my own, and sometimes I just feel the need to talk about adaptations, and I don't want to force anyone to spend 4 or 5 months catching up on books and films. So I'm going to start doing, occasionally, every now and again, some solo episodes. So we will see how that turns out. And stay tuned then, because in January of 2026, around halfway through the month, we're going to start first with the good Hillary and I talking about Vineland and Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another. And then the following week, I will be doing my first solo episode talking about Dostoevsky's White Nights and the adaptations by Luchino Visconti and Robert Bresson. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, we hope you have a lovely Christmas break, holiday break, whatever you're celebrating. We just hope you're surrounded by love, joy, warmth, and we hope to see you again soon in the next year. Goodbye.